Hi everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to have a sit down chat with you guys and kind of talk about how I found happiness in my life. Now, I know this is sort of like subjective because happiness is different with everyone, but I feel like I found the key to success when it comes to my happiness in my life. And this all started and stemmed from a huge breakup I had about, I want to say 13 to 14 years ago. I was in a long-term relationship of 8 years and in my 20s, by the way, and we were like in a codependent relationship. Also, I just want to say too, in my 20s, I feel like I'm a late bloomer. I feel like my 20s were more like me as a older teen. And then when I got in my 30s, I felt like I was in my 20s. And now that I'm in my 40s, I feel like I'm in my 30s. And that's kind of why I act a little bit younger than I should for a 43-year-old. But at the same time, age is nothing but a number. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because I know a lot of people in their 20s now are more mature than I was in my 20s, like my niece. But anyways, I was in my 20s. I was in a codependent relationship with my then boyfriend for 8 years. And we kind of just, had to sort of do everything together. So when we broke up, I felt like my life had really just crumbled. I had no place to live. I had nowhere to go. Or at least in my mind, I felt like I had nowhere to go because I was in that codependent state of mind. I built all these unhealthy dependent habits on someone. And then when they're gone, I feel like I had nothing. Even though I had my parents in San Diego still, and I could have moved in with them, no questions asked. But my thought process was just like, I lost everything, right? And so it was after that, maybe 3 years when I got my shit together, that I started to think about my life in general. And that thought process brought me to my parents. And I started to think about if I lost them, I would be destroyed because of what happened with just a breakup of a boyfriend. Imagine losing one of your parents. I couldn't fathom how I would deal with that. And so I started to think and kind of created this system. And again, this is like just from my mind. I didn't read about this, and maybe there is a system already out there like this that exists and people have talked about it, but this is sort of just my experience and something I wanted to share with you guys. So anyways, with the thought of my parents passing as I'm getting older, at this point I'm already 30, 31. And as you grow older, you kind of just start to think about these things and you realize, life is short. So I started to think, if I lose a parent, how am I going to deal with that? I started thinking about my life as a temple because, you always hear your body is your temple. And so I started to think about my foundation. Like, what is my foundation then? I thought about creating these pillars in my life that are holding up my foundation. I came up with 6 pillars because essentially what I found or what I realized is that for me to have a happy life, I need to have a balanced life. And those pillars are the balance and foundation of me and what makes me happy. And those 6 pillars are basically in no real particular order, but my relationships, my health, my career, my finances, my living situation, and then also doing things that make me happy. So those are my 6 pillars. The reason why I guess I came up with this sort of system is because if one pillar falls, hopefully you have all other pillars that are stable enough to help keep you afloat, to give you that time you need to rebuild whatever that pillar that fell or that's broken or that needs help with. As I was in my 30s, I was starting to build my pillars because when I thought about this system, it's not like I had all my pillars straightened out, ready to go, and like we were good. No, I had to really kind of start from the ground up, create my foundation. And so at that point, my relationships were good. One of the pillars I really worked hard on in my 30s was my career because that kind of ties into finances, right? And so I really tried my best to work my way up in my company, which I did. With that came a better financial situation because I was making more money. I was able to pay off my debt. And then also my health I started to work on. My living situation was pretty good at that point. I already had my own place. That last pillar for me was doing things I loved. And so all of those I could kind of work on a little bit here and there, but it was really my career and finances I really devoted my early 30s to. And so by the time I was probably 38, 39, kind of towards my later 30s, I had this really solid foundation. And so I was just happy. And ever since then, I've been happy. And I can't really express to you what that means other than I love life. I enjoy the people who I get to share my life with. I don't have really dark days. I can pick myself up during tragedies, which I'll get into in a little bit. Yeah, I look at life differently now. I look at it with a clearer perspective. I'm a lot more aware, not only of my surroundings, but I'm like very aware of myself. I like to think I have a really good awareness because I built this system of pillars and foundations. I'm constantly thinking of how I can strengthen them. As you know, life is always full of ups and downs, ebbs and flows. It's not always going to be great. And so that's my secret to having a happy life. You make sure you have as much balance in your life so that if one thing crumbles, you have all the other pillars in your life to hold you up. And so yeah, again, late 30s, I had this system in place. My pillars are pretty strong for the most part. Again, there's cracks and stuff here and there, but you know, you just go back in and you repair them or you figure out how to make them stronger. And at the same time too, you can add pillars. I'm in my late 30s and things are good. But then, you know, the pandemic happens, and a lot of you guys know who follow me in my channel. I lost my dad during that time, and this was what the universe was preparing me for. You know, not only were we in a pandemic where everyone was feeling the hurt, the pain, the isolation, the sadness. It's like this was what I had to go through early in my life to figure out that system that would help me now. And so when my dad passed, that pillar crumbled. It was such a traumatic experience that I've yet to talk about on this channel. Hopefully one day I would love to share that with you, because it wasn't just your normal gets COVID, passes in a couple weeks. This was a month-long journey of asymptomatic symptoms, going to the hospital for something else, him and I both having it. There's so much trauma in that I'm not quite ready to talk about it. I have a lot of guilt that I've been dealing with still. That's one pillar that I'm still trying to repair. But anyway, so when he had passed, thankfully I had those other 5 pillars to hold me up and I could rely on and count on. So in that year and a half, rebuilding this relationship part of my pillar from having lost my dad, I had all this balance in my life to help me rebuild that. You know, and also too, just to add on to that, we're coming off of a pandemic where, you know, we kind of were just in the house the whole time. And so I had gained 20 pounds. So I was also dealing with the loss of my father, but then also not feeling my best because I had put on all this weight. And so I wasn't feeling healthy. And so that was kind of the other pillar that needed help. And so the thought process for me, looking back, I didn't think about this at the time because my head was just trying to deal with loss of my dad. But I guess my body and the universe was telling me, oh, you can work on 2 pillars at once. You know, like you going on all your solo hikes, listening to grief podcasts. I was also doing something very active. In my mind, I was working on 1 pillar, but in reality, I was actually working on 2. And so when I kind of had a good grasp of being able to move forward with my grief, I lost my dog suddenly, less than a year later. And she had some random breathing complications one night, and I took her to the ER thinking, okay, maybe she just has like a bacteria infection. Maybe they'll just give her some antibiotics. It turns out she needed to be on a ventilator, which was also traumatic considering sort of that's also where my dad was at the end of his life. And then to top it off, they did x-rays and she had what looked like pneumonia, which was also what happened with my dad. And we had to make that, oh fuck, whew, hold on. We had to make that tough decision of letting her go. And, you know, me going in there thinking, oh, she's just gonna get some antibiotics. And so then there's another relationship pillar I had to rebuild. And then fast forward a year later, you know, I'm back into a good balanced life, right? I did the work and I'm feeling good, still happy in the grand scheme of life. And then about a year later, I lose my job of 18 years. And this one was a whole new category, a whole new different scenario of how something can crumble, because the last 3 pillars that crumbled were all pretty much in the relationship realm, right? So I was like a pro in the repairing that, like, okay, let's go, let's get to work. But then I lose my job of 18 years, which I will link that down below. Whole nother story. As you can imagine, being somewhere for 18 years where you built your career from the ground up, it's traumatic to say the least. And so here we are today, and we are continuing to fix this pillar, this structure in our lives. And I am thankful that, you know, my other pillars are good right now. I feel good about them. They're keeping me up. They're keeping my spirits up. They're allowing me the time and energy to get focused and fix this career pillar. I could genuinely, honestly say I'm still happy. I'm still living a happy life, even though I am on this path and journey of fixing those pillars. I know I'm talking a lot about foundation and pillars and this and that, but really those are just metaphors for a balanced life. I believe life is all about balance. That brings me back to that codependent relationship I had with my ex. When that ended, I felt like I had nothing because I put all of my focus and my energy into that. I will never do that again because I don't want to be at a place where if something tragic happens, I lose all of me, because it took a lot to find me in the first place, and then it took even more to build my system of pillars, to find a foundation that works for me, and to ultimately have a balanced and happy life. I know this was a little bit of a different video for me, but I have a lot of things I want to share with you guys, and sometimes I just get in my head about sharing it. But yeah, I do want to have these little chit chat moments because I feel like we can learn something from each other, because through my YouTube journey, I have learned so much from you guys in the comments. It's crazy. So I want to continue to nurture that and create a bigger community and be able to talk to you guys, because I know one day I'm going to mess up, and I know one day I'm going to say something wrong, and I just want to make a pinky promise with you guys. Let's do a little pinky promise. We're going to do a pinky promise that when I do mess up, when I do say something wrong, or if there's something I say that you don't agree with me, pinky promise me that you won't take offense, and that if you are offended, please comment down below and do it in a constructive, kind way. Teach me something and we can have a dialogue. You can even just DM me on Instagram. You guys are my homies too, and promise each other that when I do mess up, hold me accountable, but be nice and kind. Please. I can promise you that this platform, this channel of mine, will always be a source of good vibes, happiness, even when I'm down. Also vulnerability, like I want to be able to connect with you guys in ways other than just happy vlog stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah, I hope you guys maybe think about creating your own pillars, and if you do, please share them down below, because maybe it can inspire me to add another pillar in my life. So I encourage you guys to think about what those pillars are in your life. You know what pillar I forgot to touch base on? Doing things that make you happy. That's such an important pillar for me, because what is the point of life if you're not doing things that make you happy, right? Like, think about it. Don't forget to do things that make you happy, because that is the whole point of life, aside from, you know, being a good person and spreading your joy. Think about your pillars, and I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you. But other than that, I had a really nice chat with you guys, and hopefully we can do this more often. And so with that said, we're gonna go ahead and end the video here. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you can, try to choose happy over sad today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye everyone.